This is the BlackPrint Podcast, where purpose meets power, where culture isn't just celebrated, it's constructed. I'm your host, Dr. VaShawn Smith, educator, leader, dream builder. Every episode, we're unlocking the blueprint to elevate schools, shift systems, and empower leaders who know that change doesn't start at the top, it starts within. So whether you're leading a classroom or a community, tap in, lean in, and let's build the future together. Welcome to the BlackPrint Podcast, where we believe dreams become reality when culture is intentional. I'm your host, Dr. VaShawn Smith, school leader, professor, purpose-driven practitioner. Each episode, we follow a blueprint I call mapping: mindset, approach, people, practice, impact, next steps, and gems, to highlight the stories and strategies behind excellence in education. And today's episode is all about leading the middle, not just the grade level, but the space where identity is formed, belonging matters, and systems can make or break the everyday experience for our students, parents, and staff. This conversation centers on how steady, intentional work builds sustainable culture. Our title is The BlackPrint of Leading in the Middle: Purpose, People, and the Power of Systems That Stick. And today's guest is not only a respected leader across our region, but also a colleague I serve with on the board of Greater Kansas City Principal Association, where she currently serves as the president. Dr. Reagan Allegri is the principal of Heritage Middle School in Liberty Public Schools and the 2025 Greater Kansas City, Missouri Association of Secondary Principals Middle School Principal of the Year. Sorry for that chop up, but she is our GKC Middle School Principal of the Year. Under her leadership, Heritage has redefined student connections through their house system, strengthened a sense of belonging to remarkable levels, and brought learning to life through their L.I.N.K instructional framework. I'm excited for this conversation because Reagan leads with clarity, purpose, consistency, and heart. All the qualities we talk about on this show. So let's get into it. And before we dive into the blueprint, I want to take a moment to just check in with you, Reagan. You and I serve on the GKC board, where you are the president and I get to be your president-elect. And I've seen up close the weight you carry and the passion that you lead with. So I want to ask you a question that we don't always get to be asked in this work, but how are you doing? Not just as principal, not just as a regional leader, but as a person who shows up every single day to pour into the communities that you serve. Let me know how your heart is, your energy level, and how are you navigating this current season of leadership?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. There's so many pieces there. First of all, thank you. Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Really honored, VaShawn, that you asked me to be on with you. I would say currently how I'm doing, my heart is really full. It's a very full season. There are a lot of demands on me personally, but also professionally, but it's really good demands. It makes me feel needed. It makes me feel like I bring something to the table. So I would say my heart is feeling really full and definitely full of gratitude. I do love this season of the year just to slow down and really think about what makes everything in my life so meaningful. My mind is a little foggy. I'm ready for a break. I'm not going to lie. I'm jealous of any of my counterparts that have a full week off for Thanksgiving break. I think that that's a new idea that we should all look into. So I'm definitely a little foggy. I'm ready for a reset. And what was the other one? Mind, heart,
and how are you navigating this current season of leadership?
Yeah, I feel really good in my leadership right now. I'm in year 5 as the lead principal, and so I feel like I've hit a really good momentum. You know, I'm things aren't crazy new, but there's enough that keeps me on my toes. But I feel like I've got enough in my in my file folder that I can go back and find if I'm running into new or issues that I may have to go back and kind of refresh. But I feel good. It's I'm not burnout. I love what I do, and yeah, I feel good. I'll just go with that.
And I know you're pretty sure you've heard the adage before, like it takes about 3 to 5 years to really hit your stride and start to feel like this is my building. This is the work that I've been called to do. Like you kind of have your people in place. So kind of hearing that is right in line with kind of where I wanted to go and kind of kick things off with mindset, because as a former middle school leader, I kind of know that world can kind of be crazy. It's its own place. I tell people all the time that either you're a middle school person or you're not. There's no in between. There is no in between. Kids are discovering who they are. Emotions run high, and the ground is always shifting. So in that kind of environment, belonging isn't optional. It becomes an anchor for the work that you do. So I want to ask you this. Where did your conviction come from? The conviction that belonging should be the starting point and not something we tack on at the end.
I don't think I had any idea how important. I knew what the belonging was so important. Like that's just innate in educators. Like we want every student to feel seen, heard, valued, part of a bigger picture. That every adult too that walks in our building, like I always say, my go-to line is like everybody gets to take up the exact same amount of space. Like no one has to be small, no one needs to be overly big. Like we just need to like take up the space and be grateful that we have that. And I think that I probably didn't really get like this conviction to be so focused on student and staff belonging until I really sat down and I started having one-on-one conversations with people. This job is a busy one. It can be a rat race. You look at your calendar first thing in the morning and it's go time from the moment you wake up. And there have been really amazing moments where I have been able to slow down and sit down with people and just hearing them and personalizing the work that we do as educators has been really humbling for me. And so one of the things that was really beneficial for me in understanding student belonging at the middle level was like the focus groups that we started doing 3 years ago with kids. And we were meeting with them, 10 kids per grade, like once a month. And we had 2 different adults that would sit in and just ask the kids questions. Like, what are you noticing in the hallways that makes you feel safe or unsafe? What are things that teachers can do to make you feel more connected to not only their content, but also them as a human being? And if you let kids talk, they will. And the things that come out of their mouths it'll stop you in your tracks. And I think that's where my mind just shifted. Like I am making a lot of decisions for my student body as a 42-year-old or a 40-year-old or a 38-year-old, depending on, where I was in my principalship. And maybe I needed to bring them along in my decision-making because it's supposed to benefit them. So I might need a little bit more of them in the decision-making.
I love that. So we're going to pause real quick because what I really want people to do is run and grab their pens, run and grab their note cards, whatever they're going to need, because you're going to get a whole lot of gems. And she's going to get her moment at the end of the gym, but like you're going to need your Reagan reflection note cards today. So get them out because she's going to drop a lot of wisdom for you guys. And also make sure to go ahead and share this with another leader who needs to hear this message today. And one thing I want to pull on a little bit more before we jump into the next thing is though that you said that resonated so much with me is everyone gets to take up the same amount of space. Mm-hmm. Like talk a little bit more about that because that is so key in the work that we do, because I think sometimes, especially whether we're in a staff meeting or we're monitoring student discourse in a class, that someone wants to hog all the airtime and not give other people a chance to come forth and give their knowledge and wisdom to the space. So can you just talk about that a little bit more, that quote right there, everyone gets to take up the same amount of space?
Absolutely. That's like, so that kind of phrase right there is really what anchors our belonging, not only at Heritage, but just like in my heart as a leader. I constantly use that, welcome to Heritage, where we want you to feel seen, heard, valued, a part of a bigger picture, and want every single person taking up the exact same amount of space. And I think that piece, that last piece that you're wanting me to elaborate on, kind of naturally fell out of my mouth when I was talking a lot in our, like with our discipline processes with kids. And we would talk about that rather than just handing them a suspension or handing them, the conversation with a student conference with an adult or whatever. It was all about the dialogue with kids. And I think that just naturally evolved when you're talking with students. They don't realize, and I don't think adults realize, that when we enter into certain rooms or certain groups or whatever, that we need to be aware of how much space we take up, which is perfect, but also are we allowing others to lean in and be a part of the conversation? And one of the things that we have done at Heritage, there's always been a theme for us every year. I'm very thematic. It's just how my brain works. And so when we sit and talk with kids, if there is a lack of sense of belonging, our theme always plays into, do you feel like what you might have done or what you might have said made that person feel worth it? Which is like our theme this year, #worth it. Or last year it was our house. So do you feel like what you might have said or what you did or what that person did or said to you, did it make you feel like you're a part of our house? And so that it helps ground that, because belonging is really a big thing for kids to understand, and everybody feels like they belong in different ways. But when you kind of narrow in what the focus is of what we want students to feel and see and notice and name, and then you can kind of tag a line to it, I feel like all of a sudden it just changed their viewpoint of, oh man, maybe I need to kind of step back and just see if I am doing too much or I'm doing too little. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And the thing I want to highlight for people, because I've got to see firsthand the amazing leadership of Reagan over the last few years. And the one thing I love about her is like when she speaks directly from the heart. And the way I know it is something that I just heard you say, I know it's from the heart, is the hashtag worth it, because hashtag worth it has been our GKC model this year as well. Like it's all in alignment. She's so much about alignment and making sure things fit. So like I said, Reagan's Reflections, make sure you got them note cards ready to go, because they're going to keep coming, people.
I'm gonna steal that. Reagan Reflections.
I don't want to assume. So if I assume in any of my questions, please clarify when your answer. But something that you talked about that I want to jump into, and this is going to jump into the next part of our framework, which is approach, is you talked about our house and the house system in your school, which I would assume probably started as kind of an advisory concept. But if it didn't, please recorrect anything. But here's my question for you. Here's how I'm going to frame it for you. I believe that the house system is part of just your identity now as a leader. People see the house system as just the heartbeat of what heritage is. It's part of just the culture of what you do. But I know it didn't start that way. It started by noticing probably a gap in connection, a gap in routines, a gap in how kids saw themselves in the building. Can you walk us through how the house system creation happened and what problems did you create it to solve?
Yeah. That's exactly right. You nailed it. This isn't like our house system, or the structure of it is really no different than an advisory. And we already had that built into our schedule. So we're on a 7-hour day, and advisory was always at the start of the day. It was like the first 30 minutes. And it served a purpose of kind of an opportunity for kids to, there was a little bit of like SEL in there. But honestly, it was really more of a study hall, or just kind of a start to the day. And it did allow kids to talk, which is great. But we were noticing a couple of things. One, specifically that year, or that was 2 years into my leadership as principal at Heritage, and our student belonging, there was a specific question of how connected do you feel to at least one adult in the building? And it was a pretty low number. And we were like, man, this cannot be. Like, we've got these I have the most incredible teachers at Heritage. They are phenomenal human beings, and they are phenomenal educators. And so I'm like, I wonder what that is. There's a misfire. So that was one thing. And then the other was that our attendance was lacking. Like, we just had kids not showing up because they were like, oh, it's just advisory. It's not really that important part of the day. I can be late. I can make that stop at Starbucks. I can sleep in a little bit and have my mom drop me off because it's just advisory. And we started talking about it as a building leadership team about how we could redefine what kids would say and get to a place where I don't want to miss that, because I don't want to miss house, or I don't want to miss seeing that teacher. And so that was kind of the starting point of it. Like, we had an attendance issue, and we also had a belonging issue. And so rather than talking about the problem, we're going to be about it. And that's one thing that's really important for me. Like, we are not problem describers at Heritage Middle School. If you're coming to the table with a problem or a struggle, let's come with it. Let's name it, but then let's get on the problem solving path. My brain just does not operate in just a dumping ground of negativity. And not that complaining is always like negative. Like, sometimes you need to vent. I totally get that. But if it truly is something that's not working, like, let's get after it. And so that was really kind of what started. We started talking about, like, could we change the location or the time of house? We hadn't renamed it yet, but we thought, if we make advisory after second hour, so students would start first and second hour, then they would go to house, then third and fourth hour, fifth hour, they would get lunch, then they go to sixth and seventh hour, and then they go home. It kind of gave this like opportunity for some breaks for the kids, because I work with 12 to 14-year-olds, and we don't have recess anymore, and it's hard for them just to get thrown in and just go nonstop. They have PE every day, which is phenomenal, but they need a brain break. And so we tried this idea of moving advisory after second hour. And then from there, we were like, we need to rebrand this. We want to build advisory rename it, and we want it to be all things family focused. And that's exactly what we do. We're now in our second year of house. Our theme last year was #OurHouse, and that was the rebranding of it. We were kind of building it as we went. This year, it's just like, I don't know, 2.0, and it's work. I'm not going to lie, VaShawn, like our teachers have to think about it and get planned what's happening in-house, because it's not a study hall. Like, we're circling up. We're doing restorative circles or proactive circles. We're doing, they're creating handshakes and coming up with their house names. They are doing door decorating contests. We just finished a food drive this week in their houses. Like, they're working, but it's been beautiful to see, because these houses are building pride, like just 10 times over what we had with advisory.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to make sure I'm hitting them with these Reagan reflections after every little bit. So here's the Reagan reflection from this piece right here, people. We are not problem describers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got to come with a solution. And who doesn't have attendance and belonging problems in their school? Like,
right.
And to be able to say, hey, we have this problem, and here's how we're going to start to attempt it. I want to pull on you just a bit more and push your thinking, because I think it would have been quick and easily. It's so easy for us to look for the next flashy thing.
Yeah.
So how did you say, you know what, we're not going to look for the next flashy thing. We're going to stick with this house thing because we want to build a system that sticks. And I think that's when we changed from being an initiative to a culture shift in our building. Yeah. So was there pushback where there was people talking about, hey, we need to shift away from this after just the first year?
Oh, of course. And it was out of discomfort, because truth be told, like, you put Reagan Allegri as a teacher back in the classroom, and I got a house like there. I mean, that is my jam, right? Like, you're going to find me in like student council. I'm leading, I'm with the kids. I want to do all of like this culture stuff and belonging and fun and competitions. Like, that is how my brain works. But I also realize that's not everybody's brain. So sometimes people struggle, or it's not even really struggling. Sitting down and talking with kids and really trying to connect with them isn't necessarily their skill set. Like, they're an incredible teacher, but sitting down and trying to do that connecting is hard. Maybe they don't have kids. They've never experienced kids that age, or it's just not the way their brain is wired. So it caused discomfort, no question. There were some that were like off to the races. Like, some houses you were like, man, I just want to get in there and hang out with that teacher and that crew, because it was big energy and you heard them doing their cheers and their chants, and they're designing their flag to hang outside of their classroom and stuff. And some were a little bit quieter. But I think that the key there was that I was very clear, as was my admin team and our BLT, this isn't going anywhere. This is worth it for the kids, #worth it. That you can see how these things they organically come out if you hear yourself in your leadership. What you stand for will naturally surface. But it was hard for some of them. Some of them felt like, man, I got to do more work, right? Like, I already have all of my curriculum I've got to plan for. And now I got to think about house activities. And I think two things had to be true for us to get to where we are a year and a half into house, and with so much room to grow. Number one, I am here to help you every step of the way. If you are not comfortable with this, all you have to do is reach out. The administration loves this idea. This is all of our bags. So we will come in and help. If you are not understanding how to do it, just tag us in. We will help. Number two, this is where you look for student leadership. If this is not your thing, find the leader in the class that is dying to just talk about how we're going to do this food drive, or what we're going to do whenever it comes time for the house spirit week. Like, how are we going to show up and show out? Find the kids that are comfortable and just empower the heck out of them. And number three, a constant reminder, this isn't going anywhere. You're not going to out-talk me on this. You're not going to try and convince me otherwise. I can feel it in my gut and in my bones. This is what's best for kids. And so this is what we're going to do.
So I'm going to encourage everyone to go back about 2 minutes on the little thing on YouTube and listen to the 3 steps she just gave you. She just laid out to you, how do you shift culture in your building with an initiative? So that's the first part. The other thing that I love that you said, Reagan. One of the things I'm big on, if you know anything about me, is climate and culture, and how do you shift climate and culture in a building. And I always talk about Todd Whitaker saying, if you change today, you change the climate. If you never change back, you change the culture. It just becomes a part of what we do. And one of my mentors, Dr. Beth Huff, who was on episode 10, so go back and make sure you check that out. She talks about in her book, Lead Like a Pirate, lifeguard leaders versus swimming leaders. And the thing that I just heard you talk about is how you're a swimming leader. You said, hey, if you're struggling with this, we will jump in with you and show you how to get through this. We will help you identify that student. We will help you kind of get on board. We'll help you with the lesson. We're not going to just sit on the sidelines and coach and guide and direct. We're going to be in the water, showing you how to do that backstroke through the house system and everything like that. So the thing I love about that and what you said, the other thing I think you said that and then we said a little bit earlier with the whole, everyone takes up the same amount of space, that you say a lot of things organically that just become these things that start to have their own life and live. So I'm going to say that my next piece, as we jump into people, is something I don't think you probably even remember you said. So I'm going to frame it for you this way. So one of the most things I admire most about you, as our time we start on the board, is your people first philosophy. And something I've heard you say before is, if the adults aren't healthy, the building won't be healthy either. So talk to me about, what does taking care of the adults look like in your building, and how do you build trust while also holding high expectations for the people that work under you?
Yeah, that is 100% my leadership philosophy. I have to take care of my adults because my adults take care of our kids. And that's it's my greatest honor. I will get emotional about this. This work is not for the faint of heart at all. But when you see people, when you see adults that give and pour and radiate energy and connect and all of those things, and you can remind them of the things that they don't see in themselves, so you can stop and you can have those conversations. You can create times and spaces to just check in on them. How are you doing? Is there anything you need from me? When you can write the little note, drop the Post-it note, shoot the email, whatever, that is gas in the tank that we know how we all know how bad we need it. Even if we don't know how bad we need it, whenever someone takes the time to just stop and be like, hey, you're doing great. I'm really honored to watch you work. I'm really proud of the work that you're doing and how you're just trying something out. That's words of affirmation are my love language. So I come by it naturally by wanting to do that for others. And if they don't need it, no big deal. And if they do, then I know how good that feels. So my people are like the heartbeat, and that includes my community of parents. That includes the teachers. That includes every staff member at Heritage, every single staff member. And all of that, when all of those adults are feeling supported, or at least I'm trying to help them feel supported, I can't help but notice that leads into the kids feeling like their teachers and the adults around them know that they're seen, heard, and valued, and take up as much space as someone else. So then they'll reciprocate that same vision I have for the kids.
I love that. So here's your Reagan reflection, people, for this part right here. And she emphasizes something that I learned in my first year as an assistant principal that was hard pill for me to swallow. Coming out of the classroom and being an instructional coach for the time I was. Marty Hewitt, who does a lot of BIST training. If you don't know what BIST is, go ahead and Google it. You'll figure it out. But Marty, in my first BIST training as a school leader, says, you're no longer here for the kids. You're here for the adults so they can be here for the kids. And I think that's why I radiate so much to you, because you're so much I want to make sure my people are good so my people can make sure the kids are good. And you kind of just continue to emphasize that in that piece there. Let's make a little pivot and shift a little bit. I want to shift towards instruction, because you made something very clear in your leadership that House didn't replace academics, but I believe it did strengthen the academics for you guys. So can you talk about your L.I.N.K framework? What is it? Why does it work? And how has it helped students see their learning as a meaningful connecting and not a disconnect from the subjects?
Yeah, so this will be wordy. I'll try my best to not do the longest story, but kind of a backstory of how we have gotten to L.I.N.K and how it has evolved each and every year. So when I arrived at Heritage, we had kind of like a micro school inside. It was called HMS by Design, and a couple of different teachers that were linked together that tried to do a little bit more thematic teaching. So essentially on that micro school vibe, that vision. And it had been incredible. And a lot of teachers were in it, and they were, or not a lot of teachers were aware of it and maybe became in and out of the HMS by design. But one of the things that I found whenever I got to Heritage was that a lot of the teachers were very vocal and willing to collaborate and create, like co-create lessons or units with other adults in the building that didn't teach their content area. But they didn't necessarily want to do it all year long, every day, which was kind of the structure of HMS by design. And it takes a very skilled set of teachers to do kind of that micro school vision, because you're on all the time, and it's constant linking. And sometimes things just don't link. Sometimes it's just a square peg, round hole situation. And you got to be like, you know what? We don't really make sense, these two content areas together at this point. So we're going to separate it. But anytime we do make sense, let's come together. Let's get the kids to see that what's happening in class 409, sixth grade math, and what's happening in room 11, family and consumer sciences. I bet there's some linking of learning that's happening, that when I learn this math, I am then applying it whenever I'm cooking or I'm budgeting or whatever. And so that's really kind of the birth story of L.I.N.K. Again, I'm not creating anything brand new. It's just, we could probably build on this. We could have more students experiencing L.I.N.Ks rather than just the ones that were in the by design program. We could have more teachers reaching out and connecting and co-creating and making co-curricular units, interdisciplinary units together than what we have in the program. So can we take our net and can we cast it a little bit wider? So that's kind of the process of L.I.N.K. And L.I.N.K has looked different every year. At first, the first year we did L.I.N.K, I requested that every teacher find one teacher to partner up with and create like a 2-week L.I.N.K unit. The kids didn't have to be the same, but it was like intentional working where the teachers were naming, hey, I don't know if you're in industrial tech, but if you are, this skill that I'm teaching you in math is really helpful in your industrial tech class because you're measuring and you're looking for X, Y, and Z. And so it really just became like, let's name the ways that we're connecting. And so every teacher, we put them on what I call super teams. So it was like a group of core teachers of 5. So a math, ELA, social studies, science, and PE. And then I'd bring in 2 to 3 elective classes. So you might have like a band teacher, a FACS teacher, and maybe industrial tech teacher. And that was a super team. So inside of their super teams, I asked them to partner up. They could go in 3. They could do a L.I.N.K in 3. They could do a L.I.N.K in 4. They could do a L.I.N.K with another teacher, whatever they wanted. I put some guardrails in place, but not like so much that they felt suffocated. And I just said, just try it, give it a go, and let's see how this works. And they did it. And there was definite uncomfortability right there because there were so many teachers that were like, I haven't ever done this before. And is this going to completely fail? But I just kept saying like, no children will be harmed in the making of a L.I.N.K. So it's going to be okay. Just get in and try it. So then that kind of evolved. We did that for 2 years. And now L.I.N.K is really forward facing about the graduate profile at Liberty Public Schools and the 5 domains, and also real world learning. So now we have teachers that are really focused on naming units or learning experiences and showing them what piece is this connected to entrepreneurial and what skills are kids showcasing when they're learning whatever it is in your class. And also like, how am I connecting it to like, this made me better in growth mindset because I had to blank. So really L.I.N.K is nothing spectacular other than a purposeful intention to name what kids are doing and why it's important and how it helps them in the future.
And that's a powerful practice. No, it's perfect. I mean, it was a powerful explanation of how L.I.N.K works and a practice that goes on at Heritage Middle School that I love hearing about. The thing that we're going to take away from our Reagan reflection for this portion is we L.I.N.K for purpose. We don't L.I.N.K for L.I.N.K's sake. Right? There has to be a purpose behind the L.I.N.K that we created. We cross that. I want to kind of just add a little bit and kind of give you a little bit of space to talk about this because I think you talked about the importance of how L.I.N.K works and you gave us the structure. If I was to walk into Heritage Middle School and pulled any kid aside and says, hey, talk to me about how does L.I.N.K help you? What would that student probably say?
I don't know that they would actually know that they're in the links. And that's I guess that's okay, but it's also an area of where we're focusing, because the adults know that we're doing it. They know that we're linking real world learning, and we're trying to elevate lessons that make kids connect the learning in the classroom to outside of the classroom. But I don't think it's something like hey, you're in a link. So I don't know, if I'm being fully honest, if a kid would know what it is, but if you were to talk to them instead and say, hey, what does real world learning look like in your classroom? Or is there a place that you go during the day where your teachers are stellar about having a connection for you, that like, you're just not learning this because I'm telling you to learn it or I have to teach it? I think you'd be hard pressed to not find a student that would say, oh my gosh, yeah, actually in Mrs. Stanley's class in industrial technology, we're building bunk beds, which is knocking out all of these standards. But these bunk beds are actually going to a non-for-profit called Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And we're building as many bunk beds as we can, because we learned that there are many students that are many people in our community in Liberty that have kids that are sleeping on the floor, and we're not okay with that. So we're going to take our knowledge of industrial tech, but we're going to build some beds, because everybody deserves to sleep in a bed at night. And that I think you would find quite quickly, but I don't know necessarily that they would know that it's a link. And I think that's okay too.
And I think that's more than okay. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, and I just we go back to a classroom. Like, I may not want a kid in a math class to tell me, hey, can you tell me, why you're, that this is two-step equation is important. Tell me how this is going to affect you when you walk out into the real world. That's the impact we're trying to have. They probably can't name every priority standard they're supposed to learn, but they can tell you, hey, we're doing this because we're building beds for people who need that. We're making an impact. And that's really what we want kids to do at the end of the day. How do we help kids make an impact in the communities in which they live in, no matter if they stay in our community or they go somewhere else? But how are we making community impactors with our students? So I appreciate you reframing that question and being the co-host for that moment. So let's talk about impact, because we just talked about, we want to build community impactors. So I want to talk about impact, but not just numbers. So, but the stories behind them. So under your leadership, student belonging in your school has moved from 47% to 61%, and connections to adults from 35 to 57%. And those are huge and real shifts. What outcomes are you most proud of, and what changes do you see in the hallways, classroom, and student voice that tells you that the work with L.I.N.K and houses is working, especially in real world learning?
Yeah, those numbers make me really proud. We sat down as a building leadership team after we got our fall panorama data back and saw that growth. And of course, I want way more than 57% of students to feel like they're connected to an adult, right? I want 100%. But I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go find that and try to coerce someone. So if that's where we're at with our kids, then that's where we're at. But that means that we still have a lot of work to do. But I think one of the big things that I just feel like I know the impact is happening is, like, especially in house, like things are just happening, VaShawn. Like I was talking with my student council leaders and student council 2 weeks ago, and they were like, hey, Dr. Allegri, we want to do a food drive, but with the current state of where we are as a nation, and people like and the worry of people not having access to food, we don't even want to think about that. Food insecurity should never, ever, ever be a thing. And we've always done a food drive, but could we do a food drive for our own community here, like Heritage? And then if people need it, they'll take it. And if they don't, we'll donate it to a food pantry. And I was like, we're doing this. Like, we are doing this. VaShawn, this thing ran for 5 days. It started on Monday and ended yesterday. It was all of a house challenge. Everything happened in house. So anything you were bringing in was going to your house leader, and it was like being collected in boxes. And then it was like, if your house got one, like we put a bingo board. So if they got, if they like brought in 2 cans of pasta sauce, 2 things of pasta, granola bars, fruit cups, and beef jerky, then that obviously could have been a bingo. And for every bingo, you got an entry into, we're gonna do like the spinning wheel, put everybody's house names on there, and you would get an entry in there. And you could get a ton of entries, and we're gonna spin them, and then whichever house is named on the raffle winner gets a pizza party for their house. This could have easily, when I'm talking about like what the kids are doing and how they're feeling, like these kids made this happen. I announced it on the announcements. Student council shared it on our house slides. From Monday to Friday, 3,000 items were brought to Heritage for this food and necessity drive. And I was able to watch our student council pre-assemble and bag 65 necessity bags that had over 50 items, 60 items inside of each bag. And if people want to come through and grab a bag on Monday from the student council, they can, and they can enjoy it over Thanksgiving. That's the stuff that I know is happening and impacting inside of house. Like kids are hearing it, feel it. And that's what all of this is about. And they made that happen. They're the ones talking about it, with their parents and I want to do this and I want to help the house and I want to help Heritage. So I don't know. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that that gets me to Thanksgiving break. That gets me to Christmas break because kids are incredible. If you just let them shine, they will show up and they'll show out too.
That is true impact. And that reaffirms some things that I've been talking about in my building. APR just was released, recently, and that's kind of been all the rage around the city and things like that. And our scores are nowhere near where I would want them to be. But one of the things that I fall back on are stories like that. Like I know the impact I'm having with kids in my community. Yes. And we had a chance to meet with some state legislators here recently. And the thing that I asked them, I said, what we struggle with in our system, in our schools, because we serve as underprivileged youth a lot of times, is why do I have to chase points when I need to do what's best for kids?
Yeah.
Because sometimes doing what's best for kids does not give me an APR point that doesn't do anything for my kids. So the fact like you just raised 3,000 items and 65 bags that nobody at DESI will probably ever hear the story about, but you made an impact in your community that is more important in the work that we do. So I appreciate you sharing that story and really talking, like I said, just not just the numbers, but the actual impact we're having in people's lives on a daily basis. So I appreciate that from you. Let's jump into the next piece of the framework. We're getting close to the end here, and it's in for next steps. So like I said multiple times, I've had a chance to see your leadership up close and personal, and you've never come across the type of leader that just gets comfortable and lackadaisical. So as Heritage continues to grow and you continue to lead our region here through GKC, I want to know what's next. I'm going to give you a couple of prompts that you can run with whatever way you want to. What are you dreaming about? What are the next steps maybe for House and for L.I.N.K? And then what's next for your own leadership journey?
I think for I'm so happy doing what I do. It is, I mentioned earlier, the role of the principal is unlike any other, but it is, I don't know, it's good. It's so good. And when you have it, so good, yet you still feel challenged. And there's things that still make you have to think things through and slow down and self-assess. That's a good place for me to be. Next steps is just we have been in construction for 2 years at Heritage. We end that in 6 weeks. And I am so excited about that because I'm ready to show off our building. I'm ready to get people into our building to see the teaching that's happening, the learning that's happening. Something I've said a lot about Heritage is if you're driving by our building, it's over 100 years old. So currently the construction is happening in the 1923 Old Main is what I call it. And that's going to be reopened and everything is going to be right sized and new. And, our kids have come to our building and with it being old, haven't always had the nicest pieces, right? They go to other buildings and they see things that, a building that's been built 20, 30 years ago looks very different than one that's built 100 years ago. But when you drive by Heritage, it looks historic. It looks like maybe what happens in there might be antiquated or stuck in the old way of doing things. Heritage is anything but that inside of the building. And so I think my leadership now is to I'm yearning for people to get in and see what we're doing and just growing our students and their sense of belonging and them academically. But I'm also like, we're in a stage now where I'm talking to our teachers very open and honest, like, we're ready for this, guys. We are ready for more. We're ready to push ourselves. Not like on the plate, like I can't get rid of something, but like, let's start challenging. Let's quit doing things copy and paste because that's easy for us. We don't want the kids to do that. So we're ready to model that. I don't know. I feel like I'm on the cusp of hitting something with them and just making us move. I don't know what it is though. Next steps are kind of hard for me because like I mentioned earlier, like things kind of happen organically, especially with my themes. And so I just feel like I'll know whenever it's time for me to do something different, but my kids are keeping me busy. I love being at Heritage. I love doing, I teach for William Woods as well. So things are good right now for me.
So here's the Reagan reflection for this piece, people. Things are good. And when things are good, you don't have to chase the next. The next will just show up when it shows up. And that's what I love that you really said is like, I don't have to chase the next because I'm living in the moment. And whenever the next comes, it'll come. Yep. But I don't want to miss the moment I'm in chasing the next. So
I love that.
Dr. Lewis in our last episode talked exactly about that, and I told him, and I kind of reiterated, I said, I've spent so much of my life praying to God for the next season. And I'm currently now in a season where I just want to enjoy this season. Like I prayed for this season at some point in my life. Like, let me enjoy this season. And my life is so blessed right now. And that's what I take from what you said is like, just live in the now. And whenever next comes, we'll enjoy the next. But for now, we're going to enjoy the moment. So I appreciate you sharing that piece for us. So we have got to the final piece of our framework, the G for Gem. And every episode closes with a gem. It could be a one-liner. It could be a story. It could be a piece of wisdom, a truth that you want leaders to carry away from this episode. So I want you to speak to that aspiring principal for an AP stepping into more leadership or a teacher who knows they've been called to lead. What are your gems for them? What wisdom can you give them that you want them to take away from this episode?
One, find a mentor that you trust with everything and lean on them and be really vulnerable with that mentor I think like vulnerable in the ability to talk about the hardness of this career, of this job, but also vulnerable enough to say, please give me this feedback, grow me and pour into me so then I can do that for others. I have been beyond fortunate to have incredible mentors. And I know how good it feels when I know someone sees in me what maybe I can't see in myself. And the fact that these people along the way have reminded me of that, especially when it's really cloudy for me, that has taught me, that has shaped me to be that same leader and mentor others. So that's a big gem, is find someone you trust and let them lead you. Let them challenge you. Let them give you feedback. Let them question you, and then let them celebrate you. That's a big thing. I also think you'll find that this is the hardest work ever. But if you are called to do it, you will still wake up every single day and you'll be like, we're going to give it a go. And look for the beautiful parts of the day. Look for the beautiful parts of the day and notice and name them. Just even this past week, I was walking and I was kind of in the zone. I was walking from my office to a classroom, and I had walked by a hallway and I heard 3 kids go, Dr. Allegri, Dr. Allegri. And I turned around and I popped back my head around the hallway and I was like, yeah, what's going on? And they're like, oh, we just wanted to say hi. And like, I'm noticing and naming that stuff. Like, right, you saw me and you felt like you needed to say hi to me, because that's good, right? I could have walked by and they could have been like, shh, Dr. Allegri's walking by, right? So we're going to notice and name those small things, because that's sometimes just the right amount of gas to keep us going in the tank till the next gas station.
Oh my gosh, Reagan, thank you so much for ending season 1 with this kind of depth, intentionality, and clarity that reflects exactly what this show is about. You truly have brought it full circle for us from episode 1 to episode 12. Your leadership reminds us that systems matter, people matter, and belonging isn't accidental, it's built. I appreciate your work, your heart, and the impact you're making across not just Heritage, but our entire region as our GKC president. Before I jump into the rest of this closeout, I have to shout out my amazing producer, Whitney Smith, who is always behind the scenes doing fabulous work, making us look good. I'm going to let y'all know Whitney is also our Bulldog TV, our high school news channel producer, and she is doing phenomenal work growing a new crop of reporters in our Bulldog TV program. So shout out to you, Whitney. Thank you so much for always making me look good on the episodes. And to everyone listening, it's officially the closeout of season 1 of the BlackPrint Podcast. This season has been rooted in purpose, truth, vulnerability, and real work leading schools well. What started out as an idea has become a space for real conversation that elevates school culture, amplifies powerful voices, and celebrates purpose-driven leadership. Before we step into what's next, I just want to take a moment and look back on what the blueprint that we built this year. When I take a look back at season 1, what stands out most is how each episode wasn't a conversation. It was a brick that laid the foundation of a blueprint we are starting to build together. We opened up this entire thing with the mic check, the culture is calling, where we named the assignment from the start, that leadership is louder when it's rooted in purpose, identity, and culture. That episode set the tone for everything that followed after that. Then came James Ulrich in the BlackPrint of Service, reminding us that leadership is the core of the service that we do, not just a status. He grounded us in humility and purpose. Dr. Ian followed up with the coaching BlackPrint, pulling back the curtain on the inner works of leadership. He showed us that before you can lead others well, you must learn to lead yourself. And sometimes that requires letting someone coach you into your next level. In the BlackPrint of Full Circle Leadership, Ms. Dakis shared what it means to return to the service, the school that once shaped you. Her journey reminded us that some assignments bring us home and make us even better in the return. Dr. Trinity Davis shifted the season with her BlackPrint of Cultivating Black Educators. Her work with teachers like me is more than recruitment. It's a movement of restoration, representation, and belonging. Dr. Houston brought clarity in the BlackPrint of System Leadership. She showed us that alignment, awareness, and empowerment aren't just buzzwords. They are levers that transform schools from inside out. In the BlackPrint of Rising Within, my AP, my right hand, the superstar, Pamela Burham, gave us the real-time look at perseverance. Her journey from substitute to assistant principal in the same school is a reminder that preparation and faithfulness opens doors. In episode 8, it brought us into partnership with Ms. Blackshot, where she joined us in the BlackPrint of Leadership Partners, sharing how friendship, collaboration, and purpose can shape leadership in ways titles never will. My bestie brought it in that episode. Shout out to you, bestie. Then Cornell Ellis offered a masterclass in representation and building pipelines. In episode 9, the BlackPrint of Recruiting and Advancing Black Male Educators, his voice continues to shift the narrative around who gets to lead. And then my principal, Dr. Beth Huff, reminded us that culture starts with us. The BlackPrint of Culture-Driven Leadership, where vision, voice, and vulnerability is her blueprint that she lives out daily. In episode 11, Dr. Damon Lewis brought us into the beauty of slow, steady progress. In the BlackPrint of Incremental Change, progress, not perfection. He taught us that growth doesn't require perfection, only intention. And shout out to him for being the 2025 National Middle School Principal of the Year. And today, people, we heard from the one and only Dr. Reagan Allegri, who closed the season out with the BlackPrint from Leading in the Middle, showing us that it's possible when purpose meets people and when systems are designed to last, we can not just shift an initiative, we can change an entire culture. Season 1 has been rich. It's been honest. It's been transformational. It hasn't just been theory. It hasn't just been rhetoric. It's been lived practice from leaders who show up every day to do this amazing work. And now it's time to build again. Season 2 will be coming in the spring of 2026, and we're going to kick it off with a Black male leadership lineup. That's right. We're opening up Season 2 with a powerful slate of Black male leaders from across the country, men who are shaping culture, redefining leadership, and moving this work forward in bold, necessary ways. Voices that are needed, stories that matter, and leadership that leaves an imprint. Season 2 will go deeper, it will be sharper, and it will be more intentional. The culture is calling, and we're all here to answer. Thank you for rocking with me through our first season. Thank you for listening, for sharing, for learning, and doing the work in your own spaces. Until we return in the spring, make sure you continue to lead with purpose, build with intention, and keep walking in your very own BlackPrint. Thank you for joining us on the BlackPrint Podcast, where dreams become reality and culture is everything. Subscribe, rate, and share with someone leading with purpose. Stay connected to the BlackPrint. We're building more than a brand, we're building legacy. Follow us on X at BlackPrint PC and Dr. V Smith. This show is powered by Dreams Made Real, where dreams become culture. When I had the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match.